What are your qualifications?
Well, I attended Juilliard. I'm a graduate of the Harvard Business School. I travel quite extensively. I lived through the Black Plague, and I had a pretty good time during that. I've seen The Exorcist about 167 times, and it keeps getting funnier every single time I see it. Not to mention the fact that you're talking to a dead guy. Now, what do you think? You think I'm qualified?
Quit picking your nose, Clark. Let's go. Look alive. Coming to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, now is the time where myself and Jim are going to speak. Ta-da-da!
Well, we're back again. This is episode 9 of the Movie Hour. Dave, thanks for coming.
Yeah, buddy.
Third time's the charm. We're getting better.
No, I've listened to both the two before. We're doing all right.
Yeah, we're just peaking. We're going to keep going up. And then also we have the lovely Emily in the producer's studio. Emily, how are you doing?
Good.
You dyed your hair today.
This week. It was
this week?
over the weekend.
It wasn't for today?
It took about 4 tries to get it this shade.
4 tries?
I was orange for a second.
I haven't dyed my hair once, so I don't know the process that takes to it, but I would probably just get overwhelmed after the second try and just be green for like a few months.
My daughter did it with
Kool-Aid.
Punch Kool-Aid. Yeah. Yeah.
See, I remember living with Tamby, she's got a big girl job now working at the U, so she's not going to be a part of the podcast anymore, but she would dye her hair all the time for whatever reason, just like purple, rainbow, just whatever comes to her heart. So, and I was like, I'm never doing that because it seems way too complicated for me. But we also have a special guest with us, as we always do, is Rachelle Hardy joins us. Rachelle,
hello.
Thank you for coming on. I've noticed
You're welcome.
over the creation of this podcast, we've had a lot of people kind of support and talk about and share our podcast, and you have definitely been one of the front runners of that, and I really did take notice, and I really did appreciate it. We appreciate our supporters. You know, it really kind of makes us feel like we're hitting something and people are actually enjoying listening to us. So I reached out to you, invited you on to come on, so thank you so much for coming on. And
thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. I'm so happy you guys are doing this. I mean, one of my dream jobs would be like to be a movie critic, and I know Jim had talked about doing this for a long time. I'm just so happy that you're doing it, and I'm really happy to be part of it, so thank you.
Yeah, and to kind of go with the backstory of how I initially envisioned this going is Jim and I would always text each other. We'd go see movies, and I'm like, hey, like, what'd you think of this? And one day he just kind of leaned over and was like, hey, you work for a radio station. You probably can get a podcast going. We should get a podcast going. And at that time, I was just an intern here, and I was like, I don't know if I have that power. When I got hired on here, it was kind of, I had more leverage, and then we got this going. But I've always been listening to podcasts about movie reviews and people like that, and I was like, man, I want to do that. To find out that the company I work for sends people to these screenings, but nobody's taking them for whatever reason. So I was like, hey, can I take them? I'll go. I'll go and talk about these movies for you guys. So
I would be so all over that. I could honestly watch pretty much any movie and find something from it because it's, you know, people put their time into it. I just love movies, all different kinds. So I'm like every week just waiting to hear what you guys are doing next. I cannot wait. I mean, I'm so happy you're doing this. And
I've noticed we've kind of developed a niche here of just supporting the local talent. That was kind of mine and Jim's initial ideas, that we have so much talent here in the state of Utah, but nobody really talks to them or about them. And we kind of want to develop an audience of people that want to hear that kind of stuff and want to know how to go out and support these people. So that's part of the reason why we are reaching out to people like yourself and Lenny a few weeks ago. And then also eventually we get some awesome guests like Darren Dalton, like we did 2 weeks ago, which was an amazing opportunity. And I'm still kind of shaken that I was able to do it. And
also for different reasons, though. Because, Rachelle, one, I want to note that you have a great voice for the podcast.
Yes.
Like,
I appreciate that.
I'm loving hearing that.
Soothing.
But also, like, Rachelle is so awesome in the fact that you just pointed out, like, she's such a supporter and a cheerleader for the community and for everyone, and that just makes me love her more. But she's also incredibly talented, and she is a go-getter. She takes action. You know, she doesn't just have ideas. She doesn't just talk. She like makes stuff happen, and so I have mad respect for that.
And
I appreciate that. Thank you, Emily. You're a sweet.
Yeah, no, that's a really great compliment. That's,
I'm
as
like, I don't know what to
comfortable
say.
as comfortable in front of the camera as behind, like anywhere from telling people about a great show all the way to being in a great show.
Yeah. You know what? We all have to support each other, and I wouldn't be where I am right now without people who believed in me and shared what I was doing. And the more that we all share what each other's doing and like, you know, encourage each other, it helps all of us. And we're all in the entertainment industry, you know. And so I'm so happy to be part of the Utah film community. And I'm also an artist. I do a lot of different things, but like it all kind of interconnects. And the more people I meet, the more I want to help share. And so like I'm totally happy to share anything that anyone's working on, because if you're passionate about it and you want to, you could sit home and be like, oh, I really wish I could do that, you know, or you could make excuses why you're not doing it. But I really applaud people who just get out there and they're scared at first, but they just go for it and just do it. So I really want to encourage that. Anybody, you know, I'm so happy you guys just went with it. Look at
Rachelle.
Yeah.
Let me give you a stage acting lesson.
Sure.
The camera's over here, and there's only one. It's like our audience.
Oh, hello.
You see how I'm sitting?
Yes. Oh, thank
so
you.
you could face me and talk to me.
I knew
No,
it.
now look. Now what I'm doing is I'm including Braden.
Yeah.
You want to go by Braden or Brady?
Honestly, don't know.
He's been Brady since he was a little boy, and I know I was Butch at one time and Dave at one time, and I go by David. So what do you want to be called?
Well, here's the thing. So here at the station, I'm known as Braden, but the on-air people know me as Brady.
Yeah.
Just because that's what they've known me as. And so when I came and did Spence Check It's podcast a couple of weeks, these last 2 weeks, he told me, he's like, so what do you want me to call you, Braden or Brady? I was like, just call me Brady. And then he kind of got after me for my social media handle because it's kind of kid-like. And because it's, you know, I'm in the kind of sports realm and it should be more professional. So I just changed my Twitter handle to be a little bit more professional, from Mr._Clarkster to Braden T. Clark. So I didn't have to put any numbers on it, but I also have my full name, but I'm still going to go by both Brady or Braden.
Slow it down and say that again. You changed it from
Mr._Clarkster, which was a name given to me by a girl I was very into in high school.
Yeah, time to let her go anyway.
It didn't work out. She's got a wonderful family, and we're really good friends right now still. So
and you've moved on to...
We've moved on to Braden T. Clark. So added
Braden T. Clark.
My middle initial, Todd. I was named after Fox and the Hound, the Fox.
Oh,
So-
I love Todd.
Steve, my older... There's your plug, Steve. He named me after Todd because it was his favorite animated.
Steve got to name you?
The story goes, and I don't think this is the actual story, but I think it's better this way because my mom...
Never admit that you're bull...
Well, my mom told me that
cropping.
she went up to my older brother and asked, hey, what should we name your baby brother? And he was watching Fox and the Hound, and he said Todd after the fox. And so my mom actually really was already thinking about the name Todd, and just kind of, since he said it, is like, oh, that makes sense. It rings with Braden Todd. So so that was kind of the reason for that. And so now I have a more professional Twitter name. But before we go deeper into the interview, I want to kind of give a rundown of what we're going to be doing today and what we're expected to be talking about. Before we get there, if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, I'm going to say it every week. Give us 5 stars, rate us, give us a review, a glowing.
Is there anywhere else to get it besides Apple?
Apple is
because I tried to download it. It said,
so Google. If you have Android,
droid, bro, you don't get a listen.
If you're an Android, it is Google Podcasts or Spotify. Yeah, so there's those two.
It's funny you never mentioned that.
Is it okay that I'm just watching them through or listening
Spreaker?
through Instagram?
Or Instagram.
I just go through your Instagram link and they're all right
there. Oh, yeah, in the Spreaker. So the Spreaker's also one way to do it.
Spreaker?
I don't know the word Spreaker.
It's the site where the entire station uploads their podcasts to. So it kind of is like the main hub, and then Spreaker sends it all the way to like Spotify, to Google Podcasts, to Apple. The reason why I say Apple is because the majority of people have Apple phones.
Right.
But
they don't.
No, they don't.
We do.
I think we need to turn a corner here.
The majority of people are broke, and they have Android.
The majority of you.
It's true.
Because you have one.
The youth.
That's the
That's fair.
So
our superstar in the middle has an Apple.
So
therefore, everyone has one. No,
I was all Android, but then my really good friend convinced me to try iPhone, and I actually like it now.
It's fun. Whatever.
I don't have anything against. I've had both, or they've done very well. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify.
This is the first I've heard of all of this.
And
Spreaker.
We're through Spreaker, which you can find through our Instagram.
Is there one you're supposed to say?
No, I've been saying Apple, but
I'm just wondering if
there's
Apple's
not.
I'm
not
getting money
sponsored
from
by
Apple.
That's the one I could check just to see how people are if they're rating us. So
okay, good. Well, hey, we're growing together. Look at this.
Exactly.
All of a sudden, 100 billion people just got access to this podcast.
And so if you have an Apple, if you have an Android, and you don't have Apple products, you can go to Spotify, which is super simple. You can find us there, and then also Google Podcasts.
Ghetto. He's like, you can definitely.
No, I have
like,
Spotify. I love Spotify. I love Spotify.
Like, what you should do is upgrade to Apple. But if you don't want to do that,
hey, as long as I don't have to pay for my phone again, then I'm going to continue with Apple.
Okay.
This podcast brought to you by
Apple products. If you want to sponsor,
Rochelle, now
user friendly.
You want to
user-friendly podcast, Apple Podcast. No, and then after that, after our interview with Rachelle, when we get there, I promise that we're going to get there, is we're going to talk about our flashback movies. We got Cool Hand Luke, right?
Yes.
That's the name of it. And we
Memento.
got Memento. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I'm going to talk about Godzilla for a little bit. And then...
is it going to be a little bit? Because when you talked about Aladdin, I was like, man, I need to find a cot. Because Braden is in love with Aladdin. I listened to it. I was like, man, this kid will just talk about Aladdin.
You guys can ask me all the questions because I have some opinions on Godzilla. So I don't think it'll be as long. It won't be as glowing, but we'll get there when we get there. And then after, we'll see where the time is. We usually, if we are running, if we need things to talk about, we're going to talk about movies we've been watching, things that we want to talk about. So without further ado, we're going to get back to the interview with Rachelle here. I remember, so when I first announced you this morning, my sister, her middle name is also Rachelle. So she was like, you have, I've never met someone named Rachelle. So I was like, yeah, she's coming on. And
cool.
I'm looking at your IMDb page right now. And a lot of the stuff, you're doing a lot right now that's in production, pre-production, post-production. Is this kind of your first time where you've been able to kind of branch off into different things other than acting and writing?
Yes, actually, a long time ago when I got into acting and modeling, I was just mostly, I'd go to auditions and you wait for that time that you're going to get that one that makes you the big thing. Yeah. Then I had kids and I thought I was pretty much done, right? So I got back into acting and it just kind of developed because I met Lenny Wito in the acting class and there's other people in there too, Landon Caston. I met Tua through Lenny, a bunch of us.
Tua Kealoha.
Yeah, Tua Kealoha. I worked with him a bunch, and we were all just like, okay, well, there's not enough stuff to be auditioning for. Let's make some films. We need stuff for our reel, and also we want to tell stories. And so just in the last couple of years, I have seen a big, huge growth in the indie filmmaking here. And a lot of it is just we're all helping on each other's projects, and it's super fun. I've learned a ton. That's how I learned producing and stuff like that. So yeah, I was just acting and modeling before, but now I'm actually writing, doing screenplays, and learning everything on set. And I can do lots of different things, but my passion still is mostly acting, and then I like producing and stuff too. So it's a lot of fun.
I'm curious, your IMDb page, it starts off, you kind of had your first role here in 1997, is that right? In Dying to Belong.
Dying to Belong, yeah.
And then you took a 19-year or something like that, my math.
It's not that many years, right?
2016 to 1997. Anyway.
It might be.
It might. My math. I was a journalism major, so math is not my strong suit. Anyway, you took some time off. What made you come back? What made you kind of like, I'm going to try this again?
So, I don't know. I guess I thought to be a mom, I have to give up I thought it would be selfish if I'm off doing auditions and stuff. And anyway, and then I was having just some personal stuff going on. And I kind of had artist block for a long time. When I was little, I wanted to be an artist. and an actor and an
Artist
author.
as in painter or?
Yes, I do oil painting, drawing, I do graphic design and that kind of stuff. Anyway, I just all of a sudden couldn't do anything. There was some stuff that I just I felt stuck, and I was just like, okay, I'm just going to be a mom and a wife and all that stuff. What really happened was I met Glenn Morshower at Comic-Con. I love to go to Comic-Con, FanX. I like the cosplay stuff, and I like comics and movie stars, right? And Glenn Morshower was one that I was like, I love him, and like X-Files and 24 and all that. And so anyway, I met him, and he invited me to go to his Extra Mile workshop. And they had to convince me to get back into acting, actually. Mm-hmm. I feel kind of ashamed for saying that, but then again, not, because I just needed to believe in myself again. And they're like, why don't you get back into it? I'm like, well, I have kids. And they're like, so what? You can do this. So I started going to the acting classes and actually doing scenes and stuff. And it changed my life. I like to say that one of the reasons why I'm busy doing so much stuff is... and why I like to help promote other people and encourage them and work on their projects is because honestly, I don't know how else to explain it except for I probably wouldn't be here if I hadn't got back into acting and art. There's a lot of heavy stuff going on in my life, and this kind of gave me rebirth. So one of the first pictures that I drew when I started drawing again was a phoenix, and that's one of them. That's one of my most popular designs that I sell and stuff at Comic-Con. I'm really thankful that Lenny Wito gave me a chance to work on his set. And then that kind of got into it. And then I started meeting more people and kept working. I do a lot with Zealot Film, and that's why I'm loyal to him. And that is because I learned things on set that I hadn't been able to do before. And I caught that fire again.
Let me say something to you about, let me submit something, not say at or tell you, just submit to you that a mom... I can really understand and appreciate the idea of a mom feeling selfish by taking steps towards her own dream. But I would submit to you that a mom who does teaches her children to dream.
Yes.
And that that you are taking those steps, that you've returned to a place where you belong, that fills your heart. Makes you a better mom because they get to see you loving yourself, and they get to see that, oh, that's how we should feel about ourselves.
Absolutely. And, it was not too long after I started taking those acting classes and I met all these amazing people. I'm like, these are my people. I haven't seen my people in so long, and here they are. And we all love the same things. And I just got like, oh my gosh, I've missed this. And I started drawing again, and I started acting again, and I got really excited about it. And the thing is, we were going up to shoot something with Deuce up in the mountains or whatever. And on that ride up there, one of my friends, Alara, was like, you know what? I know that you're in a bad situation right here, and I know that you're not sure how to get out of it. She said, but you're going to be a better mom if you take steps to kind of, liberate yourself from the problems that you're kind of stuck in right now. You will be a better mom.
And feed yourself
yes.
that you desire.
Yes. And so, and that just really hit me. Plus there's some other stuff going on at the same time that I was just like, I can do this. So I want to say out there, and thank you, David, for that, because you're right. I don't want anyone to think I don't deserve this. I shouldn't do this. I'm not good enough. I am living proof. If those people who knew me in Glenn's class and in Jim's class too, because I started going to Jim's class, and by the way, your brother Jim helped me so much to get back into acting. He kind of broke me out of my shell in a lot of ways, and I was able to audition a lot better with his help, and I love him. Anyway, I just want to say that if you are holding yourself back from your dreams and you're not going after them, just stop that and just wake up and go, I want to do this. You don't want to look back and go, woulda, shoulda, coulda, and all that. I mean,
YOLO.
Yes. Emily, you knew me 3 years ago. How much have I changed?
Oh, you've grown so much. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
And I agree with Dave. And actually a lesson I'm kind of learning myself, because about 5 years ago, I kind of made that same journey of following my dreams. And it sort of a roundabout way got me into Glenn Morshower's class.
Yeah.
But
so I met you.
And where we met. But one thing that I am learning is, every dream, every path, no matter what you're doing, you're going to come up against resistance and challenges and doubts. And what I'm learning and spent really the last week just kind of working through is that it's okay. And doesn't mean you have to stop, doesn't mean you have to do anything, but this will also be a lesson to my children when I could speak about things that I care about and I'm passionate about and I'm feeling challenged towards or doubtful towards, that, this is normal. You can take a step, you can breathe a little bit, but it's not a sign that you should stop. It's actually probably more of an indicator that you're on the right path.
So check it out. So what actually happened is my daughter, she's 17. She actually just graduated today. I have a 17-year-old who just graduated today. And
Congratulations.
I can't believe it. Thank you. Anyway, so ever since she was little, I would take her to plays and stuff. And she's like, Mom, I want to be an actor like you are. And I'm like, no, you don't. Mom, I really want to be an actor. I'm like, and I tried to steer her away from that because, I don't want to be one of those parents who's like, you must do acting. So fast forward, right now, 3 of my 4 children are acting. They do auditions. Some of them have been in features and have had leads. And Zoe actually has already directed her first short film. And so guess what? You really can do this if you're a mom or a dad and you have kids. I'm a single mom before. I'm doing a lot by myself, but I'm also having help from family and friends. And the whole idea is just don't make excuses. And don't think that you don't deserve it. I just really want people to understand that because I'm doing it and I love life. I have never been happier than I am right now. My kids have never seen me happier than watching me pursue my dreams, and they all want to be actors or artists of some sort. They're doing the same stuff, and it's maybe they're just like born with it. I don't know, but they love the same stuff I love, and I didn't do that to them. They chose it, and so it's very excited. I feel so lucky, so blessed to be where I am right now. I owe this to a lot of people who've helped me along the way. But honestly, 3-year transformation for me has been huge. I feel like a butterfly, out of a cocoon. I
want to touch on something real quick because you made mention of people kind of pursuing their dreams and stuff like that. And some listeners might be, they've always wanted to get into acting, but they might be thinking, I'm in the later half of my life, or maybe the kind of that think that ship has sailed already. Like they have a full-time job and they can't just kind of go ahead and pick up acting right away. If for those people that think that way, that, that want to kind of give it a shot, maybe they have something that they want to share with the world. What would you say would be the best way to do that? That you have an acting class that you help with. Yes, this is my way to have a plug for you here. How would they? So, it's never too late. And if you want something bad enough and you put your heart and mind to it, then you can do it. Jim was teaching the AA classes, Actors Anonymous, and I was devastated when he couldn't do it anymore. Just for whatever reasons, he stopped doing that. We still had other classes to go to, but for a good 3 or 4 months, those of us who had been going to his class were like, this sucks. We missed it so much. And so we're like, well, that time slot's still open. So I talked to Kyle. I was like, hey, so
Kyle's the owner, operator of the
Toy Shed Studios, which is awesome. And shout out to Kyle. He's great. And all of you guys who help with Toy Shed. Anyway, I was like, so if I was to take that spot, first of all, I was kind of worried, would Jim mind or something? But we needed a place to go every week, and we needed to practice our craft, and we needed to improve, and we just kind of felt dead without it for just a few months. Anyway, so we started it up March of 2018, I think. So we've been going a little bit over a year, and oh my gosh. So like I say, acting and art saved my life, so I want to give back to people. And so actually, we do this class every Wednesday night from 7 to 10. And what I say is it's free for the first time, and then after that, if you want to bring $5 and throw it towards whatever I pay for their rent each week, great. If you show up without money, I don't keep track. So pretty much what I'm saying is if somebody wants to learn how to do acting, Lenny, he's our resident director. We have other people to be guest directors. By the way, if anyone wants to be a guest director or a guest industry professional, you can come and have a night where you kind of direct people through their scenes and stuff like that, and give them twists and make them do it a different way. Anyway, we just decided that we were going to do this. It's called No Acting Class. It's NAC, No Acting Class, because we keep it real. I know that's really silly, but anyways, we have so much fun. We do monologues, scenes. We have even taught how to write scripts. We help with auditions. And by the way, this is anyone from any agency can come. It doesn't matter who you are, and I will honestly teach anyone how to do this because it means that much to me. I'm helping others because I had help. So,
see, I remember my time when I was in Jim's class that summer that I did it. I remember I met so many cool people in that class. I met Randall Malin.
Yeah,
I met
awesome.
Randall. Randall was really cool with me. Michael Thon.
Michael still goes.
Yeah,
every week. Almost.
Michael and I. He was the guy that I kind of clung to because he was cool with me and he was kind of
awesome.
around my age. Amber, who's comes to my family parties now.
Beautiful.
Amber Pratt.
Amber Pratt. Yeah. She's one of my favorites. And then some other people. Paris Warner came in one week, which was an awesome opportunity. Fun fact: I had no idea who she was when she came in, and all I knew is that Jim thought she was a crazy talented actress, and she is.
Yeah, she is.
And I remember
you call her crazy and talented.
Crazily talented.
Crazily talented. It was
a lot of talent in
adverb.
Anyway, she could cry on the spot and stuff like that. So it was just things like that. I was like, wow, this girl's really talented. And then a couple of weeks later, I see her on a billboard in Salt Lake. I was like, oh, I know who that is.
She's phenomenal.
She really is.
And part of the reason why I like Jim's class so much is, I don't have any other experience with acting class, but I liked the way that Jim was able to kind of see, you kind of go up and do your monologue and see the way you do it and then kind of give you a spin. It was like, okay, you did it this way. Yeah. I want you to be the villain. Think of it like maybe it's like a normal heroic speech. Maybe consider yourself like a tyrant this time or something like that. And then just because you wouldn't even think of it like that. And then it just kind of gives you different mantras to kind of go off of. And I really enjoyed it. So is that kind of similar how you guys
do that? Okay, so I would love to invite anyone if you want to come and check it out. David and Nathan have also come different times, like when Jim was still teaching, and I would love to have you guys come back again to ours. We do it a lot like Jim did. We have that attitude this is a place, it's a safe place. It's a good place to mess up and not feel bad about it. And we try to do something where we give them a twist or turn it on its head or just a different approach like Jim used to do. Because it's more fun and it's freeing. And Jim really helped me come out of my shell. There's just some things that he identified so quickly the first time I went to his class and then the second and the third. And that, he had me just, all of a sudden I felt so much more confident. And so that's one thing that we try to do. And Lenny is great. You learned so much from him. Michael Thon is he's there almost every time, and he has great insight, and he's about to direct his first film too. And so a lot of the same people who were going before are still going, but we're always wanting new people, and we have so much fun. Seriously, you should come.
I've been wanting to because.
But you do this.
Yeah, I do this on the day that you do it, unfortunately. Yeah. But
dang it.
I remember it's kind of cool to hear you talk about Michael that way, because I remember right before I went back to school, before as that summer ended, Jim got after Michael for not doing anything anymore because he wasn't going to casting calls and stuff like that. So it's really cool to see that Michael kind of is directing stuff now. But
I can tell you that Michael is one of the most consistent actors that I know, and he's consistently auditioning, and he's underrated, and he is very humble, and he'll probably kill me for saying this, but Michael, you're really awesome. And
I'll probably have to reach out to him and get him on here one day.
Oh yeah, he's the best. Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, anybody who fights through the downside of trying to, there's this idea that if you don't make it, this idea that if you're not on some red carpet somewhere and famous and making a lot of money, that your search to that your following of your dreams has been some sort of failure. And once you finally settle into realizing that it is the search, that it is the doing, that it is the day-to-day activity of fulfilling of listening to the muse and being creative, that you're succeeding every day that you choose to do it. A lot of people will drop out because they didn't realize some sort of, notion of what they thought it might be. The ones who stick around are the ones who realize how fulfilling that is, just to put in the work daily, to be creative and touch, be in touch with that other realm of the universe that, I mean, before we all got here, it had to be created, right? It was created, whatever your belief is, it was created in some way. And that's what artists get to do, is create in some way. And it's that doing, it's that daily building and tearing down that is the thing. And I've noticed it about the people I've gotten to work with who are just crazily successful. They're doing that very thing that we're talking about right now, where you just go and you play and you build and you break down and you're willing to fail and you play and you just access that wonderful creative spirit that is available to anybody who wants to, who's willing to tap into it and be edified by it.
That's right. I wanted to say that creative thing that you're talking about. A lot of us feel from a very young age, I feel like I need to create. You feel like there's something you're meant to do. And like those years that I wasn't doing art and acting and all that stuff, I felt dead inside. Yeah. And so now that I'm back doing it again, it's so exciting. And I forgot exactly where I was going with this, but what you just said is like it's everything. Please don't say that you can't do this, because look at some of us who have stuck with it. You have to do this because you love it. Please don't do it just to make money. That is not a good. That's not why you do it. You do it because you love the craft.
Yeah. Well, and I look at you and Lenny and Michael and Tua
Musa,
and I've got a list
Chappelle.
as long as I
have so many friends.
So long of all the kids, I call you guys kids, that I wondered, hey, maybe will they stick with it or not?
Dude, we're sticking with it.
There's a whole bunch that didn't. There's a nice. Hey, Harrison Ford said the only reason I'm a big shot is because I didn't quit and everybody else did.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. You know.
There's a sports proverb or something. I guess Brady would appreciate this.
Sports? I'm listening.
That winners aren't created on the field; they're created in practice.
Absolutely.
And so it is the ones that show up and just aren't discouraged and just keep to the craft and keep to the practice and practice with purpose that make it.
I live for acting and film and all of that now, and art. I pretty much eat, sleep, breathe it. I mean, every day I'm working on some aspect of filmmaking, and I've never been happier, honestly.
Awesome.
I want to close out on this question to kind of go out. I remember listening to a podcast with one of my favorite comedians, and he kind of begged the question of asking. It was kind of a room full of other comedians that kind of made it or just kind of were doing it just for fun. And they asked the question, would you do this if you had the money? Like, would you go, if you were an insanely rich person and your dream was to be an actor, could you go through the trials that you have to go through to be a full-time actor? And I kind of want to peg it toward Dave, because you've done the full-time acting before. If you had, if acting wasn't your only kind of calling in life, that you had like something to go back on, do you think you could have done it as long as you have, or is it because like you had to kind of climb your way up and kind of like it was your one thing that you had to, so you took the criticism, you learned from, and then you built on that? If you kind of understand what I'm getting at.
I think you're saying if there was something else that called to me as loudly, as if that's something I was as passionate about.
So what I from the podcast I was listening to, they made a mention, like, because being a comedian is so hard. Like, getting started, it's very difficult because, you know, getting laughed at or getting booed at is really, really tough, and taking criticism is tough. So they were the point they made is that if they were rich and they didn't have to worry about money, but
would you still do it?
But would you still do it? Would you still take the criticism? Would you still take?
I have it here just in case it ended up being something we wanted to discuss. This is a script that I'm working on right now. Mm-hmm. I'm getting paid practically nothing. It's a short film, and it's a gal, Lucy Nebeker, and her brother Maximus Nebeker, writer producer, twins. That came to me, and she said, she wrote me a really nice email that said, David, we know who you are, and we have a script we'd love you to look at, and would you be willing to just to look at it? And then she went on to say some really wonderful, sweet things that weren't stroking my ego, but made me feel very loved, cared for, appreciated. And I said, well, let me read it. And I read it, and she said, here's the offer up front. We really don't have a lot of money. It's a little short film, and we're passionate about it. And I read it, and I sent her a message back immediately after I read it 2 times and said, I feel like I can't say no to it. I really feel like what you guys have here is something that I really want to be a part of. I'm going to make less per day than I make driving a truck for 2 days' work, where actually I've put in probably about 600 hours of preparation because I can't stop working on it.
Yeah.
You know, I'll get through 2 or 3 hours or whatever business I have to do in a day and think, okay, I want to get back to work on The Pallbearer, or A Pilgrim in a Promised Land is how they've sort of titled it right now. And I want to work on it. So, yeah, the answer is yes.
Passion.
Thank goodness the hat I'm wearing, they paid me a fat stack of cash per day, and I was glad to be there. These guys don't have much money, and I'm glad to be here. And really, I've said this, and I mean it. I will give you a $1 million performance no matter what I'm being paid, because that's all I have in me. Right. And I don't know if $1 million is fair. Maybe nowadays with inflation, it's a $10 million.
Yeah, you're setting your bar really low.
I will give you my best performance, whether I'm being paid $1 million, $20 million, or $100. I'll give you my best performance always. I promise. And if I can't say that, I should stop doing it, or take a break.
Yeah.
Right.
And I did. I took a break, and I'm back, and I'm so thankful. I tell her every day, I talk to her, I'm so thankful to have this to work on, because it's giving me that food that I need.
I'm so happy to hear that. If you don't have passion in this industry, then you're not really going to get that far. You have to have that passion, like that drive, that fire within you. That I'm so happy that you have that.
Yeah, me too. I'm thankful every day that I have it. And I get to go up to Bear Lake I leave tomorrow.
Awesome.
And I'll be back in a week's time, and my kids get to be in it.
Wow.
That's so cool.
And Lucy was so cool. I said, I have 2 kids, and you have 2 kids in this show, but I can't be nepotism dad. Nepotism sucks unless you're related.
Yeah.
I said, but I can't set a bad precedent. I said, if you want to audition them and you want to really see if you can relate to the kids and they can relate to you, and you can get the performance out of them that you need from your actors, then my kids can work on the show. And both my kids booked the dang thing too.
That is amazing.
Way to be
so
DJ
stoked.
and Danny.
Yeah.
With little stars. I can't believe I...
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. It perfectly answers it. So thank you for that. And I can't believe I forgot I was going to bring it up at the beginning of the show. Turns out I'm a paid actor.
What?
My mom texted us...
You got paid for that for Punch Drunk Love, right?
Yeah, my mom texted me after the...
She's like, I owe you some money.
She texted us after listening to the podcast, and she's like...
Last week.
Yeah. And she's like, oh yeah, you, Steve and Tamby were all in Punch Drunk Love. And I had no idea.
How old were you?
I was
like just little.
That movie came out when? When were you filming, I guess?
Boy,
98,
I wanna watch it
97?
again.
Long time ago.
99 maybe,
Awesome.
because Tamby was born. She was born in 98, the end of 98. So imagine it was early 1999 or something like that. So I was probably 4, maybe 5.
Fun.
So I have no recollection of it, but
yeah.
Hey, I'm in a movie.
Yeah.
That's really
well,
cool.
Sorry.
Where's my IMDb page?
I'm sorry, Braden, but an extra is not an actor. You're not a paid actor.
$50?
You were paid to be a part of a movie. But actually, this is no, hold on. This is a side topic. Being an extra is a brilliant thing, and anybody who wants to, especially young aspiring filmmakers, actors, editors, even, you should say yes to extra work, because you get an opportunity to see how a film is made on the ground level. There are career extras, and there are people who are great at being extras, and that's what they want to do. That's different than acting. I'm not poo-pooing extra. But
4-year-old
But
heart.
there's a big difference between being an extra and being an actor, and you cannot young actors, don't say I'm an actor. I was an actor in this movie. What you were when you were really an extra. Don't say it.
And don't put it on your resume.
Don't put it on your
putting
resume.
Extra and featured extra stuff on your resume is
It's
not
great experience.
Yes.
And it pays
$50.
and it's wonderful. But you're not a
Going right
professional.
now,
But you're not a
101.
professional actor.
But
Yeah,
still,
okay.
you were in Punch Drunk Love, and it's a really good movie. So
Exactly.
Good job.
That was an awesome kind of discussion we just had there. I thought that was really helpful and informative to a lot of people, and for me especially, I really enjoyed that. We're gonna transition to our flashback movie reviews. We're gonna start off with Cool Hand Luke. I watched that this morning. It's one of the few movies on Rotten Tomatoes sitting at a 100%.
I noticed. I watched it yesterday. I was like, dude, 100%.
So it's pretty impressive. And I like looking at older movies, 1967, and seeing all the actors at a young age. I was like, this person looks familiar, but I don't really know who it was. So it stars Paul Newman, George Kennedy, J.D. Gannon.
George Kennedy they had 4 nominations, 4 Academy Award nominations
He
for
won.
that film.
He's
the winner for Best Supporting.
Yep.
They were also nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay.
And
they
music.
were nominated
Score.
for Best Score.
Music, yep.
And then of course
Paul Newman.
and Paul Newman
Mhm.
and Mr. Kennedy who just crushed that
I
role.
really-
It was
it was-
amazing.
He was
I didn't
amazing.
know that he wanted. I kind of researched it after, but I remember leaving after the movie ended. I was really just kind of gravitating towards his character. Every time he was on screen, I really enjoyed seeing him. And then Paul Newman as well. He did an amazing job.
Paul Newman is a bona fide movie star.
Yeah.
George Kennedy had this to what we've been talking about tonight. 50-year career.
Mm-hmm.
This man was in films for 49 and a half years of his life that were never really recognized, but he continued to do it because he was really great at it and loved it. And one time he was recognized for his greatness when I would be willing to bet that many other times prior or after, he was just as great and maybe just wasn't recognized.
And Paul Newman, I remember when I researched his career, I was like, hey, he's from Cars. He's Doc.
Yeah.
He's Doc from Cars. So that was kind of fun to see there.
Dennis
but
Hopper was in it, and Wayne Rogers. I'm like, dude, all these different faces, but they're like younger, and so I had to like look it up. Like, yep, that is Dennis Hopper.
my favorite part of the movie, I think, was the camaraderie that the inmates kind of developed through
Right.
the movie. I thought that was a kind of fun dynamic. You don't really see that with inmates. You kind of see them always kind of ganging up on each other and kind of fighting. But I like the fact that they all kind of came together and kind of supported Lucas in this kind of journey, especially when his mom passed away.
Yeah,
and
that
they
was
all
sad.
like noticed like actually he needs some time, so they all kind of left the bunker and let him just kind of play his ukulele just kind of by himself. I thought that was kind of a banjo, sorry. Banjo by himself and on his cot, and just kind of I thought that was a special moment.
It was so well done. That was a really good film. I very much enjoyed it. So I don't know. There's a lot of different things I liked about it. It just, you're right. The camaraderie was really great. There's some great acting in it. It actually was visually, I liked it too.
I was really surprised. So another thing why I like watching old movies is kind of seeing the directing, because the cameras aren't as powerful as they are now, obviously, but
Right.
it's always really cool to see what they're able to accomplish with these kind of older cameras. And that was something I did notice from the start of the movie, is the kind of this the shot selection and what they decided to put on screen is very smart. Dave, this was the movie that you suggested us to watch.
Yeah, I'm glad you did.
Why did you push this one?
For me, it's kind of an example of the kind of acting that I embrace. That where you had a whole ensemble of people who had stepped into the shoes of the people who were involved in this story and behaved very much as if they each found a way to believe that they were walking in those shoes, and then created this reality so that we, the viewer, could get a sneak peek into what it really might have been like, as opposed to a artistic portrayal of what it was like, as opposed to a wondering but they put themselves in the shoes and they walk through the steps of what would I do in this situation, and then behave that way. And then when everybody's behaving the way that you might really have behaved in the situation, then reality happens.
Mm-hmm. It was very authentic.
It's authentic.
The car washing scene, I mean, which was funny in itself. I'm not going to say anything else about that, but the way they were all, it was like they were a moving machine. All of them, the way they're working, and it was beautiful.
They weren't pretending. They were all behaving.
It was genuine. It was
And it's at the same time, it was really when this new wave of real acting was coming about, and I remember watching it just thinking I just got to step into I'm not sure exactly what town it was, a correctional facility of this place, and be a part of this group that was incarcerated and dealing with life in this new situation they were doing.
We're also going to talk about Memento here in a second, but to close out Cool Hand Luke, I also liked the way that it kind of portrayed Lucas's character when he was fighting Dragline, I think it was his name, George Kennedy's character. He kept getting knocked down, but getting back up, and getting knocked down again, and getting back up, and just kind of over and over, and just no matter how bad of a beating he was taking, he always got back up. And you kind of saw that with the movie, he'd always escape and then get caught. And then you'd think, I was like, oh, he'd give up. Maybe that was the time that he'd like, oh, no, I'm not going to get out of this. And then, but no, he escapes again. And then he gets caught. And then he escapes again. And then eventually it leads to the end of the movie where they all, with Dragline and Lucas, end up in the church where the sheriff and all the cops kind of surround the church, and they finally, it's kind of the end of it. But what's more important? Maintaining your own individuality, or bending, and 2 years later he would have been out. Mm-hmm.
If he would have just bent. Mm-hmm. He didn't have it in him to bend.
He was free spirited.
That makes him a very flawed character. He's not. I don't agree with his antics. Mm-hmm. I agree with a lot of what he did, but at a certain point, you do have to find what's the reality of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Lucas. I adored him, but I kept saying, no, man, don't.
Me too.
Like, I got kids, just knock it off. Yeah. Just knock it off, and you'll be out this is wrong. You cut the heads off of parking meters, which he really cut the heads off real parking meters.
Really?
And I wish I could remember what town they filmed it in.
I did know.
The version I watched, man, I need to write things like this down.
That was what I mean.
I'll get better at it. But he came on and he said, I'm sorry to report that the parking meters were harmed in the filming of this movie. And it took a long time before they replaced all those parking meters that he really cut off in that scene. In any case, I don't think that his will not bend attitude was correct. I mean, he was in a bad situation and he really didn't deserve what he was getting, but he made it worse.
Yeah, well,
I agree.
It's a romanticized idea of a rebel without a cause, which is a great story to watch. But I agree with you. I mean, that was just like a prime example of somebody with great potential living without a purpose. And so instead of making good decisions that would benefit him, he just was self-destructive.
Yeah.
But isn't it interesting that all through that he earned their respect? Like.
Mm-hmm.
He was almost like a hero to them because he just would not give up. They're like, okay, well, he's back now.
You send him.
Yeah, and I bet like every time he would take off, they're probably like, well, we're never going to see him again. And then he'd be back. I thought it was kind of cool.
I mean, he already had the whole group's admiration. He didn't have to run away to earn that. He already had that by being himself and being a little bit mischievous. But because he just could not stand and be in that environment, even though he made it a little bit more bearable by his antics, and being a little bit entertaining for everybody. It's still just like he had no purpose and no will to go on.
Well, but in the end, we all die, and he died knowing that he did it his way.
Yep.
Yeah.
And maybe that's really all that matters.
To end on that note, the happy note.
I did it my way.
So we got a few. We probably should get through Memento here pretty quick. Memento.
That's how I got through. It's a. You got to be fully awake.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. You cannot have distractions. Be prepared to focus on that movie, or you find yourself looking at like, hey son, but you just spilled your cereal. Where? Oh crap!
Rewind.
Where am I?
I think that's like the hardest part about like watching TV at home. It's because you're able to like, I can check my phone.
Be distracted.
Right. So like,
Not
movies
Memento.
movies like that. And I realized that I watched Godfather a year or two ago. And I remember I was on my phone throughout the entire movie because it's 3 hours long. It's very long. And but I felt like I missed the entire thing. And I think a lot of people, especially my generation, miss out on great movies because they are on their phone. Anyway, continue on Memento.
No, that's a great point. That's a really great point. And I tried to watch it while juggling my life, and I couldn't get through it.
No, you can't.
When I first watched it, I was just... oh, man, I was in love with it. And it was brilliant, amazing, and wonderful, and I just couldn't stop telling everybody to go see it. But if you watch it the way we're talking about, distracted, you can't. It really is come in and let yourself suspend your disbelief and focus and come along for the ride. Pay attention. Pay attention, and then you really get to go on the Memento ride. Any other way, and it's a bunch of brilliant filmmakers wasting their time on you, knucklehead watcher, because you're not able to pay attention.
It's Christopher Nolan's really breakout role. He's one of the greatest directors that we have right now, especially he's so young. And so this was kind of his first movie that really kind of put him out on the screen. He had one more previously, but this was his first huge role. What did you think of the movie?
I loved it. And actually his brother wrote the story, and then then Christopher directed. I love it. I saw it a long time ago. It's always been one of my favorite movies just because it's so different than most of the movies that we see. I love the films that are like more artsy or different, or just like they buck the trend.
Yep.
I just think it's cool when you have to actually pay attention and you don't know what's going on. I love that. My brain likes to sit there and go, wow, I wonder what's going on, and just I loved it. Yeah. I've watched it probably 4 or 5 times. I watched it again last night.
Wow.
So.
And Emily, were you able to watch it?
Yeah, no, I love that movie. And maybe because I like logged off all of social media, that it wasn't a painful experience for me, because I wasn't distracted. But my favorite thing about Memento is, one, that it is an art piece, and timeless in its own way. But it's a great example of a successful breaking of rules.
Exactly.
Because if you really look at storytelling and screenplays and plots and climax, and like everything's got, a certain point they're supposed to get and reach within certain time frames, and it literally breaks it apart. And you watch it from the outside in or the inside out, and like it's just like, it's a great way. It broke all of the rules for storytelling and editing and movie like making, and it worked.
I'm curious, back when this movie came out, because obviously Christopher Nolan is known for in the popular culture, people that don't like focusing on movies, he's known for his Dark Knight trilogy.
Right.
When this movie came out, do you see pickings of like, oh, this guy could be a good director for Batman? Or because around that time, I would say superhero movies aren't as the craze as it was now, and Batman was kind of the first one that really kind of, you can be spectacle, but also the story can be great as well. And I think Christopher Nolan was able to develop that.
I think he took it from caricature-driven to character-driven.
And
superhero movie.
Yeah, and remember, Batman Begins was probably the first Christopher Nolan movie I saw, obviously. And I remember being super scared of it because I was, I think, 9 maybe when that movie came out, 11 if I do my math right. And that I love his direction of these movies. You know, Christopher Nolan's got an incredible track record movie. There's very few movies of his where he's directed that I haven't enjoyed. I don't think there's one, actually. Interstellar being the one that at first I was like, oh, that one's kind of weird at the end, but I still, every time I watch Interstellar, it gets better. And so there's all these movies. So, yeah, Memento, great watch. I highly suggest everyone watching it. I want to talk about Godzilla, unless anyone has anything else to close out on Memento. Does anyone have any?
I have a story that I could tell about it, but
you go ahead and tell it.
We're sort of out of time.
Because
Godzilla, you could just be like, okay.
I'm gonna be really quick on. I'm gonna be quick on Godzilla. So, like I said last week, I have the luxury to going to see these screenings, and I liked Godzilla 1. The first one I liked because it kind of reminded me of Jaws, and that's what the director said. It was kind of his homage to Jaws, whereas like the monster isn't on screen, but like it's alluding to it until the very end of the climax of the movie. It's just amazing. King Kong is a dumpster fire, but I really enjoyed it. So like the perk of King Kong is that I knew it was a bad movie going in. Like it's kind of low on the Rotten Tomatoes scale. And so I was like, okay, like
you're talking about the Jack Black King Kong, or is there another one out?
There's a new one. It starts with Nick Fury, Sam Jackson, and Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson.
Oh, Skull Island.
Yeah, Kong Skull Island. Okay. So that came out, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, and so that one I knew was kind of like, okay, it's kind of bad, but I enjoyed it because I enjoy watching monsters destroy humans, and that's what Kong Skull Island was. Just like these humans end up on an island and just monsters are just picking at them one by one. So I was like, okay, I found some enjoyment out of that. I was so disappointed in Godzilla King of the Monsters. They made monsters, a movie about gigantic monsters, seem boring.
Oh,
it's a bummer.
And it didn't have like that thing where it didn't have like a Tom Hiddleston where I like Tom Hiddleston or Brie Larson or Sam Jackson where I'd be like, okay, these characters I like and they don't have them humans being killed in the movie. Like there's scenes where like people get squished or something like that, and it doesn't have the same satisfaction of me just watching a big monster just run up and eat somebody.
Rip them apart.
Exactly. And the humans in this movie are so annoying. The reasoning why they release all the monsters is bonkers and does not make any sense. The movie shines when the monsters are on screen, when the monsters are released and they're on screen. That's probably the best part. But every time a human talks, I just like, shut up. Go back to the monsters. So I was really disappointed. I really wanted to like it, but just not a good time. But anyway, we're about out as we're sitting around 58 minutes right now, but I kind of want to talk about what's coming up next, what movies we can look forward to. If I had to suggest anyone to go see a movie this weekend, it'll be Rocketman. I'm seeing it tomorrow. I'm seeing it tomorrow I'm seeing it Friday. And that's coming out, I believe. Dark Phoenix is coming out the week after.
Oh, yeah.
So, the end of the X-Men franchise as we know it until they get swallowed up into the Disney umbrella. That will be an interesting watch, but I don't know if I have a screening next week. So next week I won't have anything to talk about other than movies we watch. But we got some challenges. Rachelle, do you have a movie you want us to watch this next week?
Oh, dang. Okay, I know. No, I think Lenny already talked about it. Prospect. He already told you guys about it.
We didn't actually get to watch it, so yeah, let's do.
Oh, you haven't yet?
No, because
do that one.
We shelved it, so we'll do Prospect.
Okay, so that is so good. They're some northwestern filmmakers up in the Seattle area, and it's like filmmaking the way I love to do it, the way we love to do it here, just organic and everything. And like, I love it. I've watched.
Is there a specific way to watch it, or do we?
Not really. It's just. I just enjoyed it from the beginning to the end. Just know that...
Like streaming. Is there a streaming?
Oh, that. I'm sorry. I was like, wait, I'll get some chocolate. I'm trying to remember. I rented it
for 99 cents.
Yeah, I think I actually bought it because Lenny recommended it. He said it was so good, and so I watched it a couple times, right away. I don't know if it's out on any other platforms right now, but it's worth buying or renting.
And then, Emily... Dave gave his suggestion last week. Do you have one that for us to watch this week?
Do you want action or drama?
You give us. This is your challenge.
Well, I mean, I collect weird things because I go down rabbit holes, and so like I've been like shelving these ideas until I'm asked. There's a Netflix original called "They Came for Us at Night." It's an Indonesian film. I was down this rabbit hole of ninjas because my son wants to write a Galaxy Ninja story. And so I was like, I don't know that much about ninjas, and so I was watching all these kung fu movies. But basically, like, I like it. It's a great story. It's really gory.
Awesome.
So like B level gore though. So and it's great fight scenes, but it's a great story. I've been wanting to start a blog because weird things stick with me after I watch movies, and this one, the weird thing that stuck with me is all these Asians that have blonde hair. I was like, ah.
So nice.
I don't know.
What's the movie called again?
They Came for Us at Night.
They Came for Us
You can
at
find it
Night.
on Netflix.
Perfect.
It was pretty good.
And
Cool.
next week we're gonna have Todd Newcomb. He's gonna join us. So
Awesome.
I'm really excited to interview him. He's another person that he kind of got this podcast going on the back end. So, and he's been really excited to come on finally. So I'm excited to have him. Another movie, like, I'm going to throw this out there. It's not part of the suggestions, but I watched it this weekend, is Perfection, the Netflix movie with Logan Browning and the girl from Get Out, the girlfriend in that movie. I forgot her name. I think it's Emily something. Anyway.
I saw an interview with her talking about it. Did you like it?
It was so good. Yeah, it was an awesome kind of psychedelic thriller, kind of like Get Out is. So I suggest going checking that out if you need another thing to watch. So like that. But yeah, without that, we're gonna close it out. Dave, do you have any last thoughts, remarks, jokes, phrases, things?
Do I have time to read the book that my son wrote?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's called A Deadly Monster by DJ Stevens. He's 7.
Ooh.
Can I read it?
Yes,
Go ahead.
please.
Yeah, why not?
One day I saw something in the forest. I went to look. I saw a deadly monster. I was scared. I ran away. The monster was coming at me. It had blood dripping from his face. I climbed a tree. The monster walked by me. I jumped down. The monster heard me. Jumped down. I saw him. I was scared. I climbed back up.
Clever boy.
I almost died. I killed him.
Oh.
He's leaving out some.
Do not
details.
go in the forest. You might die.
I love it.
I think that's the perfect way to close this out here. Again, thank you all for listening.
Great job.
Rochelle, thank you so much for coming on. It was
Thank you for having me.
so good today. And again, thank you all for listening. It's been a pleasure. Emily, thank you for producing.
Did you say it's been a pleasure? That them listening has been a pleasure. That's
No, it's
awesome.
been-
It gives you pleasure that they get pleasure. No, I like that
Shouldn't
about
it?
you.
Well, like I like that people actually listen
Yeah.
because
Be
I
that way.
feel like I have something to do.
Thank
Doing a
you for
great job.
listening. It's been a pleasure that you got to listen.
Exactly. You're welcome.
I like that about you.
Emily,
Got it.
do you have it set up?
Yeah.
It's not the intro this time, is it?
No, I don't know what happened.
Because last
I
week
think
that was funny.
I was like, I don't know.
And you left it in. I noticed.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I definitely left it in. But anyway,
Okay.
thanks again, guys, and we will see you all next week.
Thank
And
you.
Eventually, maybe we'll see if Emily plays the outro. There it is.
Boom.
Thank you, guys.